Hey, what's going on? I'm Bacon. Welcome back to another Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck profile. It has been quite a long time since I've done this one, to the point where I don't even remember what the last one I did was. I literally do not remember. It was either Crystal, Beast, or Chimera. I cannot remember. But as a Phantom Nightmare, I've actually picked up a new deck. I don't quite have it in real life yet, but I've been playing around with it. And I have an interesting deck right here. This is going to be Goblin Bikers, or just Goblin, whatever the frick you want to say. This is an interesting one. This deck is like really close. It's really close to being there. It's just unfortunate that, you know, Snake Eye exists, so this deck's not going to be able to do anything. And also Nibiru exists, so this deck's not going to be able to do anything. But this deck at the same time is very fun. This is going to be both like a casual and competitive version of this deck. This is more so, the version I've built is more so for competitive play, but if you want to play casually, there's just a couple of changes that you realistically need to make, depending on what you like to play casually. But I think this is a very good casual deck, and there's a lot of different 1-2 card combos in this deck that can end on a bunch of different interactions, and I just think the deck is so much fun. I love the style of the deck. There's a lot of parts about this deck that I just absolutely love, and I think it's super fun. Also, Z Summoning is my favorite X-Deck mechanic in the game, so I just absolutely love it. Without further ado, let's get straight into the deck profile. So, starting things off, we're going to have just the Goblin Bikers, 3 copies of Doug Charger, 3 Mean Merciless, 3 Clatter Splatter, and 2 Boom Mac. This is mostly standard. You might see 2 copies of Clatter Splatter in some decks. I think most decks actually are running the 3-3-2-2. I like 3-3-3-2 just because Clatter Splatter for me is actually a crucial part of a lot of how I like to play the deck. It comes up, it does, sometimes it doesn't, sometimes it comes up in a big way, sometimes it doesn't. There's a lot of things going on with Clatter Splatter that I like and don't like. I'm sort of debating whether or not I should go 2 or 3. I'm still on like that bubble. For now, I'm still on the 3rd. But I can very easily see 2 copies, but everything else is pretty much non-negotiable. Maybe 1 Boom Mac, Boom Mock, whatever you want to say, but 3 Doug Charger is obvious. This is like the best Goblin Biker in the game right now. Main deck, I should say. If this card is in your hand, detach an Xyz material from a monster on the field, special summon this card, and on normal, special summon at a Goblin Biker spell trap. Just crazy. Mean Merciless can summon a Goblin from hand on summon, and during the main phase, if it's in your graveyard, detach an Xyz material from a monster on the field and summon this card by banishing it when it leaves the field. Clatter Splatter is basically Mean Merciless, but it summons from the graveyard, and its graveyard effect only works during the opponent's turn. And Boom Mock can once per chain during the main phase if this card is in your hand or graveyard, detach an Xyz material from a monster on the field, summon this card, and you can outsuch summon this card until the end of the next turn. I think this is going to be pretty standard. The 3 and 3 for Doug Charger and Mean Merciless, that is standard. That, I think, is just going to be how it works moving forward. Clattered Splatter, you could probably play 2 copies, as I said, and Boom Mock, maybe 1. Next up, 3 copies of Kagamuka Knight. I don't know how to count clearly. I said 2, but 3 copies of Kagamuka Knight. This card's crazy. For any card, if you normal summon it and you want to activate its effect, you can chain block it with this card. It's very powerful, and this card just helps you go into an additional 3. I love this card in the deck, and it's very, very powerful for that reason. 3 Tour Guide is just basically standard in this deck. I mean, if you ever want to go for a rank 3, Tour Guide's the way to go. So, I mean, there you go. And we're obviously playing the Fiendish Rhino Warrior as the Tour Guide target. Reason for this is that the Fiendish Rhino Warrior can actually send the Mean Merciless to the graveyard, and then you can summon the Mean Merciless from the graveyard using its own effects. So that's the real reason why we're playing Fiendish Rhino Warrior. It's helpful for sending that copy of Mean Merciless to the graveyard. Next up, 2 copies of Speed Roar Terratop and 1 copy of Speed Roar Takatomborg. This was a very recent inclusion. In fact, I only added this card into the deck, I kid you not, 3 hours ago. I completely forgot that they semi-limited this card, and this helps out the deck so much. There is a 2-card combo in this deck that can end on around, 4 points of interaction. And there's a 1-card combo with Terratop that ends on, I believe, as well. No, sorry. The 2-card combo, if I'm not mistaken, I might be mistaken because I haven't tested it that much. I believe it ends on 5 points of interaction, where the 1-card Terratop combo ends on 4 points of interaction. This card is unbelievable. For anyone who does not know, If you control no monsters, you can summon this card from your hand, and when this card is no more special summon, add a Speedroid monster from your deck to your hand. You're always off of that, adding Takatomborg, because it's the only option for you to add. Takatomborg, sorry, has the effect where if you control a wind monster, you can summon this card from your hand. Also should be noted, if you hard draw the Takatomborg and you have a copy of Boommock in your hand, Boommock is a wind, so you can actually go ahead and still summon the Takatomborg off of the Boommock, so that's something to note. But basically, you summon the special Terratop, search Takatomborg, special Takatomborg, and then you go for Big Gabonga without using your normal summon. It's very, very powerful for that reason. 3 Ash. I just was running out of like space to put hand traps. I was running out of cards to put in, so hand traps time. Again, if you're playing casually and you're like my friend group, where when it comes to casual play, hand traps are a no-no, then obviously drop this. But 3 copies of Ash Ball, so we're also playing Imperm down here as the additional hand trap in here. These are just my 2 favorite hand traps, so that's why I put them in here, but you can use literally whatever hand traps you want or whatever additional cards you want. 1 Call by the Grave. This is very important for the deck. This deck can very easily lose to a single hand trap. In fact, the hand trap that this deck loses to immediately is Nibiru, and unfortunately, Call by the Grave does not affect Nibiru. I was actually considering playing Crossout Designator in this deck just to stop Nibiru, but I decided not to do it. If it comes down to it, there are a couple of cards in here that you could definitely cut down the ratios of, and they're coming up actually. So there's a lot of things that can change, and I might end up running the Crossout Designator Nibiru stuff. So we'll see. But Call by the Grave just for now, so we can stop our opponent from hand trapping us. Hopefully this card does get banned, because this card is very annoying. Not Called by the Grave. 1 Rhoda. Rhoda is helpful for a couple of reasons. For starters, it can add your Boommock and your Kagamuka Knight, but for most importantly, it can add your copy of Doug Charger, which is just very powerful. 1 Foolish Burial. This card is very useful just to send a copy of Mean Merciless or Phoenix Rhino Warrior from your deck to the graveyard, assuming you don't get to your copy of Tour Guide to send to the graveyard anyway, so it's just very helpful for that reason. You can also use this to send copies of like Boommock, so you can just get a free extension. Clatter Splatter also, so you can get a card to summon during your opponent's turn. However, I don't think that graveyard affected Clatter Splatter matters that much. I think the idea here is you're supposed to go Clatter Splatter, summon during your opponent's turn, summon a goblin from grave, and then use the Grand Stampede to Xyz summon with them during your opponent's turn, but that never happens in this deck. 3 Grand Entrance. I mean, obviously, it's the Rhoda for the deck. Add a goblin from deck to hand, and then you can detach an Xyz material to summon the goblin, and you can detach an Xyz material to add a goblin from graveyard to hand. Like, this card literally does everything for the deck. It's so freaking powerful. 3 copies of Grand Bash. I've seen a lot of people questioning whether or not this card, there is not a clear consensus on what ratio this card should be at. I've heard some people say 0. I think that's actually crazy. I think this card, just for the sake that it gives you an additional normal summon, I think that alone should at least make it a 1-up and a 1-of, and not 1-up. What am I talking about? 1-of in every Goblin deck. However, I'm playing 3 just because I want to get to it without having to search it. So that's why I'm playing the 3rd copy. I like the additional normal summon, and it's also the only way you can go for Goblin's Crazy Beast. So I like it a whole lot for that reason. But 1, 2, or 3, any of those work. If you're the type of person that just wants to search this card and nothing else, 1 copy is probably good enough for you. If you're like me and you want to just have it in your hand so you don't have to search it, 3 copies is the way to go. If you're in between, 2 copies is the way to go. Like, there's literally no clear consensus on what this should be, unless there is, and I just haven't seen enough deck profiles. But I've heard a lot of people. I've heard some people say 0. I've heard some people say 3. It's so weird. 1 Ghost Trick Shot. We are playing the Ghost Trick stuff to go into UDF. You might be questioning why we're doing it with Ghost Trick stuff and not just, since this is a rank 3 spamming deck. I mean, we're playing 24 main deck monsters, and every single one of them is a level 3. Why aren't we just playing a bunch of level 3s so we can go UDF for the level 3s? Well, it's just simply because we have better things that we can go into with our rank 3s rather than UDF. So we see an opportunity to just go into UDF without having to spend that much to go into our other rank 3s, then we are going to do that. 2 copies of Grand Stampede. This might be a little high for some people, and I completely understand that. I like it at least 2. I was at one point playing 3 copies of this just because it was similar to Grand Bash. I just did not want to. I wanted to hard draw it. I did not want to search it. But I cut it down to 2 because I needed a little bit of more space in the deck. But this card has 2 effects, and you're only ever using one of them. The first effect is you're never using. During the main phase, you can Xyz summon using only Goblin monsters. You're never using that effect. The effect you're always using with this card is if you control a Goblin Xyz monster, you can target an effect monster on the field, detach an Xyz material from a monster on either field, and if you do, negate that monster's effects until the end of this turn. That's very powerful if you combine it with something like your copy of Big Gabanga, because if you detach from the Big Gabanga, you get not only negates, but you can then activate the Big Gabanga's effect to gobble one of your opponent's monsters. So that's very, very powerful. 1 copy full armored Xyz, because we are playing the armored Xyz stuff, and 3 copies of Infinite Permanence, as I already talked about, as just an additional hand trap. For the extra deck, we're playing 3 copies of Big Gabanga. You can very easily play 2 copies of this card, and it's totally fine. I like the 3 just because, A, I really, really like the card. Not only do I like its effect, I love the card art. I just think it's adorable and cool and everything. I just think the card just looks amazing. I'm so glad to make this card a secret rare, though. I'm so happy about that. But I like 3. You could probably just cut this down to 2 and you'd be totally fine with that as well. 1 Goblin's Crazy Beast. I almost never summon this card, but it's almost like you have to play it just in case, especially if you're going up against like a Labyrinth player or anything like that. This card has the effect where once per turn as a quick effect, you can target a spell trap on the field, detach 2 materials from a monster on the field, and if you do, attach that target to this card as material. This is also helpful against stuff like, for example, Fire King. Since Fire King, they rely heavily on Fire King Island. If you have this card out as they go for the Fire King Island, you can just take the Fire King Island away from them, which is very powerful. And then it obviously has a bunch of different effects down below here, which if a monster you control will be destroyed by card effect, detach a material from this card instead. And if this card is in your graveyard, special summon this card, then attach a Goblin monster from your graveyard to this card's material. It's very powerful. This card's very, very good. I just don't think it's like a card I go into that often. Mostly because turn 1, I'm just setting up a bunch of rank 3s for interruption. If I'm going second, maybe I'll go for it, depending on what I'm playing against. And if I just need a big guy, then sure. But for the most part, I think this card's just better as a one-of that you sometimes go into. In fact, if you elect to play Prosby in this deck, sometimes I would even consider playing banishing this card off of Prosby. I'm obviously not, so I never have to worry about that, but that's just an idea for you guys if you want to. 1 Ashura King. I almost never go into this card. I used to a lot before I understood how to properly play the deck with like the 1-card combos and stuff like that. I used to go into this card a lot. To be entirely honest, when I went into it before, it wasn't terrible, but it's the same issue that plagued it from the moment Power of the Elements released when this card came out. 3 materials just seems a little too steep for this card. If this was a 2+ level 3 monsters, this card would be crazy. And unfortunately, it's just not. It's 3+ level 3 monsters, so you can't get a free monster negate off of it. And we just have a better version of this card in Cicada King, which has the effect where when a monster in the field activates its effect, you can detach 1 material from this card, so then target that monster negates effects, and make an insect monster, and blah, blah, blah. That part doesn't really matter. You can basically just give your Cicada King additional 500 defense after you do the negation. It's powerful for that reason, and usually you're going into this more than Ashura King, but Ashura King is helpful for closing out games since it can attack 3 times in a given turn, so that is one thing to note. Then, next up we're playing 1 copy of Xyz Armor Torpedo, a copy of Xyz Armor Fortress, and a full armored Dark Knight Lancer. Obviously, this is the Xyz Armored line, so this is basically what you do. For anyone that also does not know basically what this does, you go Torpedo, detach 2, draw 1. You overlay for Fortress. Fortress can then detach the Torpedo to add a full armor Xyz. You set the full armor Xyz and pass. During your opponent's turn, you flip it, Xyz summon into Dark Knight Lancer using the full armor Xyz effect. And then you can use the graveyard effect of the full armor Xyz to equip the Torpedo from your graveyard to the full armor Dark Knight Lancer as an equip spell. And once that happens, the Dark Knight Lancer can then target a monster your opponent controls. Or is it a card? Or is it a monster or a card? I always forget that. target one monster. You can attach a monster your opponent controls to this card's material. So it's good for that reason. It also gets a bunch of protection, and it gets up to like 6,000 attack around there. There's a lot going on. Next up, the Owl card and the 2 copies of Angel of Mischief. Obviously, as I talked about before, we are playing the Ghost Trick stuff. And for anyone that doesn't really know how it works, if you have any 2 level 3s on your side of the field, overlay for Owl card, overlay for Angel of Mischief. Angel of Mischief effect, detach the Owl card, add shot, summon back the Owl card, overlay into Angel of Mischief. Now you have 2 level 4, 2 rank 4s on your side of the field. Go for Utopic Future and go for Utopic Draco Future, and then you're right there off to the races. You can also go Owl card to return shot. Is that how it works? I always forget how this part works. If this card sent to the graveyard, target a Ghost Trick card in your graveyard, add to your hand. Yeah, so you can also go Owl card to add the shot back to your hand to potentially maybe go for another rank 3 play and just go for a Zeus play potentially, if you would like to. I don't think that's possible because I think it summons up a 0 material. So basically, forget everything I'm saying. I'm just speaking for the sake of speaking now, but it helps you go for UDF, which is very powerful. For anyone who doesn't know what UDF does, this card cannot be short by battle or card effects, and once per turn when your opponent activates a monster effect, quick effect, detach a material from this card to negate the activation, then if that monster is on the field, gain control of it. And then obviously, since we're playing 14 other Xyz monsters, we gotta top it off with the Zeus. You can also play Typhon in this deck. I elected not to just because I ran out of space. The card I would probably drop would be the Ashura King if you want to add something else in here. I should also be noted there is nothing in this deck, if I'm not, I might be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure no card in this deck locks you into Xyz monsters. So if you want, you can play some like Link monsters. Obviously, you're not going to be playing any fusions. Maybe you do play fusion if you play Super Poly, but that's basically it. That is it for the deck. However, I always like to end these off with basically showing you guys a bit of a combo. So let me show you guys the 1-card Speedroid Terratop combo. So the reason why I'm specifically showing you guys this combo is instead of like the Tour Guide combos, because basically at this point everyone knows the Tour Guide combo. If you have looked up basically any Goblin Biker combo or deck profile kind of video, they're always like, oh, Tour Guide's a 1-card combo to go into like 3 or 4 different types of interaction. Yes, that's powerful, and yes, that's cool and all, but I want to show you guys a bit of a different look with the Terratop stuff. So let's go ahead and do this. We're going to go ahead, special summon out the copy of Terratop, activate the effect, add a copy of Speedroid Takatomborg. We're going to special summon the copy of Takatomborg, and now we're going to overlay these 2 cards for a copy of the Goblin Biker Big Gabonga. Big Gabonga is going to activate the effect. We're going to add it from deck to hand, a copy of Doug Charger. We're going to activate the effect of the Doug Charger, detach either material, summon out the Doug Charger, activate the effect of the Doug Charger. We are not going to activate the Big Gabonga throughout this entire turn. Add a copy of Grand Entrance from our deck to our hand. Activate the copy of the Grand Entrance. We're going to add from deck to hand a copy of Clatter Splatter. I know that sounds a little bit weird, but that is what we're going to be doing. We're going to then go ahead and detach Takatomborg to special summon the copy of the Clatter Splatter to our side of the field. With this, we are now going to overlay for a copy of Ghost Trick Owl card. And then we're going to overlay immediately into our copy of Angel of Mischief. We're going to activate the Angel of Mischief, detaching the Owl card, summon out add to hand a copy of Ghost Trick Shot. Then we're going to activate the copy of the Ghost Trick Shot, summon out the Owl card. We're going to then overlay one more time for another copy of Angel of Mischief. We are going to overlay then for Utopic Future. We're going to activate the graveyard effect of the Owl card to add the shot back to hand. And then we're going to overlay for UDF. In this situation, we're now going to activate the graveyard effect of the Grand Entrance. We're going to detach, it literally does not matter what you detach here. We're going to add from graveyard to hand a copy of Clatter Splatter. And then we're going to go ahead and normal summon a copy of Clatter Splatter because yes, we have yet to use our normal. Activate the effect, we're going to summon out the copy of Doug Charger. And then we're going to overlay this for a copy of Xyz Armor Torpedo. And then we're going to activate the effect, detach 2, draw a card, overlay for Xyz Armor Fortress. And then activate the effect of the Fortress, add a detach the Torpedo, add a copy of Full Armor Xyz from deck to hand, and then set 1 and pass. Should be noted, keep in mind, this is a 1-card combo. At the end of this combo, not only do you go +1 in the hand, you are ending on a UDF, a Big Gabonga, and the entire Xyz Armor line. You are ending on 6 cards in hand. Keep that in mind. So if you do this and you go crazy, I mean, there you go. You just basically end on this. And for anyone that does not know basically how this works, obviously my opponent, I'm playing against the AI. They're just going to have a bunch of low attack normal monsters, but this is basically what this looks like. We're going to activate the effect of the full armored Xyz to go into our copy of Dark Knight Lancer. And then we're going to activate the graveyard effect of the full armored Xyz. We are going to attach the Xyz Armor Torpedo to it, activate the effect to gobble up the card. That is one of your 3 interactions. You are ending on one right there. You're ending on another one in Big Gabongo, which can be activated by either UDF or the graveyard effect of the Clatter Splatter to attach a target face-up monster on the field and attach to this card's material. And then UDF is obviously a monster negate that could potentially allow you to snatch steal your opponent's monster. So there's a lot going on with this, and then obviously in this situation, if all that interaction is enough, then you go ahead, you have enough right here for lethal, and you go ahead and you're winning yourself the duel. So that is why this deck's not bad. It really is not. Obviously there are a lot of issues. I was playing against a AI that was playing a trash deck, so obviously I'm gonna do better than that, but should be noted, there is a lot that this deck can do. There's a lot that it can do. You can go for the Crazy Beast. I didn't even show you the Grand Bash kind of stuff that you can do. But for the most part, like, you end on all that sort of interaction. The downside to this deck is that if your opponent is able to chew through all that interaction, you almost don't have any follow-up plays. Yes, you are playing 3 copies of Big Gabonga, but a lot of your big forms of interaction, your Xyz Armored line, your UDF, they're all gone. Maybe Zeus could be your last line of defense, and obviously you do have stuff like Crazy Beast in there. You have a Shuriken King, you do have your Cicada King at the end of the day, but there's a lot of things that need to go right for you in order to win a lot of duels at the competitive level. If you're playing casually, this might be one of your best options, because this deck casually can basically chew through anything. Now, I will admit, this is a pretty annoying deck to play against, at least I think so. So if you're playing casually, maybe your friends will start to hate you, but I think this deck's very fun to play. I think it's easy to learn as well, and I think there's a lot of neat things that you can do in this deck, and for that reason, that's why I made this deck profile here today. But that's going to be it for the video. I hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, make sure you slap that like button and subscribe for more. Hope to see all you guys in the next video. Goodbye.